Alright, I got a special treat here today. This is a four-wheeler that's actually appeared on the channel before. About a year ago, no, more than a year ago, I did a video on this where I was over at my brother-in-law's house and he was having issues with the carburetor leaking gas, and so my brother and I fixed it there, and well, as time went on, turns out this thing has an issue with shifting. And so my brother-in-law brought it here and dropped it off for me to do some work on. And if you want to, you can go over and subscribe to my brother-in-law's channel. He runs a farming and ranching and basically all kinds of DIY channel, talking about how he does his farming and ranching and methods he uses. It's a really fascinating and fun channel. So it's called Excellence in Agriculture, and I'll link it in the comments. And I'll link it in a pinned comment so you guys can run over there and subscribe to it. Make sure you do that. He's planning a bunch of uploads soon, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, what he says happened is, see, this is an electric shift model, something that notoriously has a lot of problems when it gets a little older, and this is a little older machine. So, what was happening was he put this shift lever on here because the electric shift was having issues where it did not have enough power to actually shift into gear when you hit the button. It would move the shift a little bit, but then it would just kind of stop and not want to push into gear. So he decided to order this add-on part where he could convert it to a manual, just a standard foot shifting. The issue is he never unhooked the electric shift, so at one point he was shifting it with his foot down there, and then he also hit this button up here. This is what he says, and now something's happened where it can't come out of gear. Meaning, of course, I can't start it because I can't get it into neutral where it'll let itself turn over. So I can kind of demonstrate here. I can't shift down any further than this. It just kind of feels like it's running into something and it won't shift. Now, you can shift it up in one gear higher and then another gear higher, and then basically you can shift it up to the top highest gear, and then you can shift it back down again, but it does not want to go into neutral. It stops at like second gear, I think. Yeah, I think it's stopping on second gear and it won't shift lower. So what he thinks is something that moved in the electrical system while he was shifting the foot shifter just kind of got stuck there, and it won't move out of the way. So basically what I'm going to have to do is just kind of take it apart and carefully look over everything, and hopefully I'll find something simple enough that's just kind of jammed somewhere and I can carefully move it out. If I have to take apart anything in the actual gearbox, I'm going to be doing a lot more research before doing that, but right now I'm just going to be looking for the problem, seeing if I can locate it, and then seeing if I can fix it. So let's start with that. First thing I'm going to try to do here is get rid of this piece of plastic so that I just have a little bit more space to get my hands into the shifting area. So next I'm going to pop the airbox off, because I believe what I'm trying to get at is kind of a little under the airbox also. So I'm going to try to pull the airbox off here. Okay, apologies for the camera angle here, but this is the only place I could get the camera to stand up under the vehicle. So what you're looking at should be the shifting motor, I believe. And so I'm going to attempt to take it off and see what is wrong with it. There could potentially be a broken gear tooth, although I'm hoping that there isn't, but that's a possibility. So I'm going to pull off the shift motor and see what I can see. But as you can see, it still gets stuck right there. It can't shift down any further. So, looks like I may not have found the issue as yet. As you can see right here, what happens when you hit the shifting button is this electric motor turns this, which turns this gear, which in turn turns this gear, which manipulates the actual gear shift lever back and forth. So if you have a problem shifting or something jammed, the smartest idea is to check in here first for one of these gears being broken, but at this point it's not. It's seems to be perfectly fine shape. Still doesn't want to shift down though when I hit the downshift. Still doesn't want to shift down for some reason, so I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to keep looking for the problem then, but this could be where a problem is, so check this first, I would say. Alright, so I did a little more research on this, and it looks like I'm gonna have to take off the engine front cover. So as you can see, I took off all of the plastics and the front rack so that now I can easily get to the front cover on the engine. I'm going to need to drain the oil, of course, before doing that, so I'm going to pop the drain plug, put a pan under it, and keep going from there. Right, so the first thing I'm going to take off is the oil cooler hose. There we go. Okay, now I can start to remove bolts from the front cover. I'm going to go slowly at first because there's likely going to be some oil draining out of here. To break it loose, I'm going to kind of put a piece of wood against it and just tap it with a heavy-duty chunk of metal I've got here, since I don't have a hammer near. I can already see a slight crack is beginning to form there, so I'm going to run over to the other side of the engine and give it some more tapping. Okay, it came loose and the oil came out. I actually couldn't find the drain plug earlier, so I just decided I would do this the messy way. So I'm ready to pull this off the front of the engine. If it will come, but if not, I can continue to tap it. Something just fell. That's probably my problem right there, because nothing should fall when you pull this off. I can see already something came apart in there. One thing you need to remember, always take out the oil dipstick before trying to remove this, because the oil dipstick is stuck. And I forgot to pop it out, so I gotta get it out now. There's this washer sitting in the case. It goes on here. I could tell because it was sitting right on the hole in the case that this pokes through. So I'm gonna slide this back on here so I just don't forget where that goes. And it looks like I said, looks like I found our problem. See how this... So, if I'm not mistaken, that shift lever, when it moves, it's supposed to be inside of here, right? Like that? Yeah, that would make sense. So that's the problem. This came out. And I haven't really done any work on this machine before, so I'm not entirely sure how this is supposed to actually stay on there. But I believe... So on first impression, that may be the problem that we had. I'm not sure yet. But this, when I took it off, if you looked, you could see it was, see if I can do that again, sitting like this. That may well have been our problem right there. This is supposed to be, I believe it's supposed to ride on here. Although, don't take my word on that yet, because I'm going to have to go back and study the manual to be sure. Alright, so I figured out the way this clutch works. Basically, when you shift up or down, obviously you can see it rotates this piece here. And these three little valleys here fit into, or these balls here fit into those little valleys, which also fit into there. So when it rotates, it turns this like that, which makes the balls come out of the valleys and push outwards, because the balls drive up the slope onto here, and in other words, they're pushing up when it turns. So when it pushes up, it pushes in on this whole assembly right here, which squeezes these springs right here, which takes the weight off of the clutch. And as you can see, there is a beat up portion of this right here. It's just got a big old nasty gash in it. And when I took this apart originally, this piece was hanging over here. And I checked the manual, and I am correct in my assumption that it goes on here. So what I'm going to assume is that what happened when this originally, all this occurred, was this piece here pushed itself off of there and kind of tore that little hole into it. So in theory, if I put all this back together and I put pressure back on the clutch again, it should be able to shift. I'm not 100% certain because there might be another issue somewhere that I don't know of yet, but I'm making progress. So now I'm going to be putting back together the front of the engine there so that I can test if what I did actually fixed the problem. So I'm just going to show you a quick time lapse of that so that you don't have to wash through the entire thing. Alright, so I added some oil to it, and now I'm going to do the test run and see if the clutch functions. So it looks like it works. Before I'm putting everything back together, I'm going to take off the front plate here again because I need to redo the gasket material in there. I only put it together this time without a gasket simply because I had to test if I'd actually fixed the problem, because there's no reason to put a gasket on, wait 24 hours for the gasket material to dry, tighten everything back up, and then find out you didn't actually fix the problem, and then ruin all that work that you just did. So that's why I did that. I'll have to wait until I can find out if the guy I'm fixing it for wants me to replace the part inside here that has that kind of bent and beat up edge to it. I have to wait until then before actually putting it back together because I have to know if I'm going to order a new part for it. So it's going to be a little while. So for now, I'm done, but the video will continue after this. So I drove the four-wheeler around and tested it for a while until the point at which I am now sure that it's going to reliably shift through the gears and not have any more problems. I'm ready to actually re-gasket this front crankcase cover. So what I have here is some Yamabond gasket maker. You can also get Honda Bond. It's just an oil-safe crankcase gasket maker. It's also good for use on rebuilding the crankcase halves on snowmobiles and such, because they have to be oil safe because they're a two-stroke engine. So after waiting a minute to let the stuff stick well, per the instructions on the bottle, I'm ready to attempt to slide this in there without messing anything up. So I tapped the surfaces lightly together, but I'm not gonna squash them down and bolt it tight until the stuff has a chance to kind of solidify a little bit, because if you let it solidify a little bit, it stays much thicker and much, well, it seals much better. So for right now, I'm just gonna kind of leave it a little while, let it solidify a little bit, and I'll be back later to actually bolt it down. Alright, so with the gasket material dry, I put in and torqued down all the bolts on the front of the engine here. And so that should do it. The job should be done now. So if you've got a Honda Rancher that is not shifting, that may be just what you have to do. That it might be that simple. Just take off the front of the engine and put the clutch lever back onto the shifting lever. So the reason I'm leaving the plastic off the front for now is because this has another issue that I'm going to be looking into a little later after I finish this video, and the plastics would be in the way for that. So I don't see any reason to put all them back on there if I'm just going to take them right back off again. So for now, the job's finished, but the plastics aren't back on, which makes the end of the video a little less satisfying. So let's see what we can do to make it more satisfying.